No secret that better trained law enforcement officers use force less often. And when they do use force, they use lower levels of force than their untrained counterparts. It's also no secret that the relationship between law enforcement and civilians is severely damaged. And one of the most significant contributors to this is when officers use force that is perceived as excessive to the public. Now, I understand that what the public perceives as excessive versus what is actually justifiable are two completely different things. But I also know that just because a level of force is justifiable doesn't mean it's necessary. Furthermore, in almost all cases, the level of force used by an officer is a function of their training, such that the more training an officer has, the lower level of force they will need to neutralize a threat and gain compliance. All this to say that Jiu-Jitsu is the future of law enforcement. And since Gracie Survival Tactics, GST, is the fastest growing and most widely adopted Jiu-Jitsu-based defensive tactics program in America, you came to the right place. GST is a 40-lesson curriculum broken down into 2 levels. You must complete level 1 before you are permitted to attend level 2. And what we accomplish in these 40 lessons is amazing. All the core jiu-jitsu fundamentals, easy escapes from the most dangerous grappling situations, non-violent control holds that are both effective and look good on camera, proven submissions that can be applied within use of force policy guidelines, simple handcuffing procedures from every position, life-saving weapon retention systems that every officer should learn, multiple officer takedowns and arrest strategies, and so much more. Now, to be clear, even though this program is based on the principles of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, every single technique that we teach in GST has been adapted specifically for use in law enforcement scenarios by law enforcement professionals. Our GST Master Instructor cadre contains several active duty and retired law enforcement officers with well over 100 years of combined service at the local, state, and federal level. Simply put, GST is a program by cops for cops, and the rest of us are just proud to be along for the ride. Now, as amazing as all the techniques are, there are 3 additional benefits that you will only get with Gracie Survival Tactics. Number 1, dynamic de-escalation. Number 2, the SafeWrap lateral restraint system. And number 3, the slice presentation formula. Dynamic de-escalation is our trademarked de-escalation system that is designed to take over when conventional de-escalation methods fail. When a subject chooses non-compliance and the officer starts punching them in the back of the head with a closed fist while yelling, "Stop resisting!" Not only is this unreliable, it almost always has the opposite effect. This is because the punches trigger what is known as an amygdala hijack, such that the subject loses control of their prefrontal cortex and enters self-preservation mode. So even if they want to comply, they can't. Using our system, an officer enters what we've coined the dynamic de-escalation loop. They start by establishing nonviolent, physical control of the subject. And once the effectiveness of that control is acknowledged by the subject using verbal, physical, or any other form of communication, then the officer alleviates the pressure of their control before issuing verbal commands and, most importantly, the benefits of complying with those commands. When done correctly, dynamic de-escalation actually enables a subject to retain prefrontal cortex function so that from a neurological perspective, they're actually capable of complying. Now, if they continue with non-compliance, we simply restart the dynamic de-escalation loop with progressively higher levels of control until eventually we get the compliance we're after. The second key ingredient that sets GST apart from every other defensive tactics program on the planet is our proprietary SafeWrap lateral restraint system. Since the beginning of documented law enforcement history, prone restraint has been the go-to method of control in multiple officer arrest encounters, but this method of restraint has 4 critical flaws. Number 1, it's very hard to hold someone down if they are determined to get up. Number 2, it's very difficult to extract the hands from underneath a pronated body. Number 3, overcompression of the lungs and diaphragm is common and can have catastrophic consequences. And number 4, if the subject has a weapon in their waistband, officers typically won't know until it's too late. Using our patent-pending system of upper body and lower body controls, any two officers can use the SafeWrap system to safely control an aggressive, suicidal, or emotionally disturbed individual in a way that utilizes no joint locks and no chokeholds, with a system that was specifically designed to avoid compression of the diaphragm so the subject can breathe naturally the entire time. They can't punch, kick, or bite us. They're on their side, so escape is much more difficult. We have full control of their hands, so weapon access is greatly reduced, if not eliminated, and we can see their face the entire time, so we can monitor for distress and immediately render aid if necessary. Best of all, the SafeWrap system also includes the first and only lateral handcuffing procedure that enables officers to quickly and easily transition into cuffing without ever utilizing prone restraint. Ladies and gentlemen, the path forward has never been so clear. As long as your agency is relying on prone restraint as the go-to method for multiple officer arrests, you will always struggle with unnecessary litigation and public relation nightmares. When coupled with our dynamic de-escalation principles, the SafeWrap system has proven to be the safest and most effective method of two-on-one restraint ever created for law enforcement. Once you complete GST Level 1, we can't wait to teach you the complete SafeWrap system in GST Level 2. And I'm willing to bet that after you learn this system, you'll be just as, if not more excited than the head instructors of the New York Police Department after we certified them in the SafeWrap system. Don't believe me? Listen to what they had to say.
My name is Lieutenant Kirk Anderson from the NYPD. I'm the commanding officer of the Tactical Training Unit. SafeWrap is being trained to all my instructors so we can bring it to the police officers out there patrolling so they can help keep citizens safe.
Today we learned about the SafeWrap. I'm gonna have to say that as far as any technique I've seen so far with two officer cuffing, this is the best.
This is gonna be a game changer throughout all the law enforcement community.
When the move was performed on me, I couldn't move. I was trying, I was fighting hard. I trained, so I was thinking I could get out of this. No way.
I think this is the most effective system. It definitely reduces lawsuits. Too many problems with the prone restraint. It gives a subject too much opportunity to get up, reestablish himself, and then forces the officer to escalate more as opposed to de-escalate.
The main problems we were running into before was we were always laying the subject prone onto their stomach, and we were seeing that they were always covering their hands. We were getting the hands covered, or they would have the power to push up and get away from us.
It was the first time I was ever introduced to this technique. While they were executing the technique, I had no clue what they were doing, but at every iteration of it, I felt no pain. My neck was in full range of motion. I could breathe. Nothing compressed my chest, but I actually had no range of motion that they wouldn't allow me to have.
With the SafeWrap, we have the guy laid down on their side, one person on the legs, one person on top. There's no pressure on the diaphragm. There's no pressure on the neck. They can't move over to their stomach and they can't move over to their back. They're completely immobilized. I felt it myself, I couldn't move. Then the cuffing procedures still don't have to roll the subject over to their stomach. Simply lift, feed the hand across, feed it to the back, and then cuff safely.
The best part about the SafeWrap is that it keeps the subject in the recovery position the entire time, which promotes free breathing.
If we can get all officers to learn the SafeWrap and everyone's speaking the same exact language, we all know exactly what to do. We may have never even met each other before, but we all have received the same training through the NYPD. CPR, universal language. Firefighters know it, EMS know it, police officers know it, right? So if I'm working with FDNY and we need to perform CPR, I already know exactly my role, he knows his role. If everybody knows the SafeWrap, EMS, FDNY, NYPD, if we're all working on scene together, we know exactly what to do without even having met each other before. I'd have to say that I would love to start teaching this to recruits as soon as possible.
I feel that if we had this during George Floyd, if we had this during Eric Garner, we won't have any of the issues that we have today.
This seems to be the best two-on-one method so far.
SafeWrap for life.
And now the final critical component that is unique to the GST system, the slice presentation formula. Simply put, the Gracie family has been teaching jiu-jitsu for 100 years, and this formula takes everything we've learned and puts it into a package that any instructor can use to captivate any audience, including the least athletic, least skilled, and least motivated members of an agency. Bottom line, when it comes to teaching people how to teach people, no one does it better than Gracie University. This is true in the civilian sector, where we have hundreds of certified training centers all over the world, and it's also true in the law enforcement sector, where we've trained tens of thousands of instructors representing countless local, state, and federal agencies in the US and around the world. There are two ways to earn a GST instructor certification, in person or online. We have countless 5-day train the trainer GST GST Level 1 and Level 2 courses each year at various locations in the US and abroad. We also have GST dual certification courses, wherein you can get certified in Level 1 and Level 2 in a single 8-day course. Besides the full immersion experience, the benefit of the in-person courses is that we are post-certified or equivalent in over 40 states, including California. So when you do the live courses, you can get state credit. Now, if you can't get to a live course, you have the option to complete the entire GST instructor certification program online from anywhere in the world. You'll learn all the same techniques, all the time-tested teaching methodologies, and if you meet the same high standards we expect from our in-person attendees, then you'll get the same certificate, same instructor t-shirt, and the same challenge coin when you graduate. Our mission here at Gracie University is a simple one. Turn every defensive tactics instructor at every law enforcement organization in the world into the best instructor they could possibly be. So that number one, they empower their officers with the skills to stay safe. Number two, civilians who interact with these officers during use of force encounters are also kept safe whenever possible. And number three, the agencies that employ these officers experience reduced liability due to fewer injuries and fewer lawsuits. And if we can continue doing all of this at the rate and with the effectiveness that we have been, then eventually we will help repair the relationship between civilians and law enforcement as a whole.